Welcome, everyone. I'm joined today for this special session of Ecosystem Engage, the Not So Daily show, by Mike Eksteen, the VP for Digital for Chubb Insurance across Asia Pacific. Mike and I have a lot of things to talk about. He's an exceptionally well-known leader in the space of digital services and transformation in this part of the world. But before we get into that, Mike, I'm really pleased to see, first of all, you're well, and that's great to see. But I'm also more pleased that you decided to dress in the color of the All Blacks. So I'm glad you finally gave in.
Well, good to see you as well. I mean, it's really nice to catch up, and hopefully soon, when this craziness is gone, we can do the face-to-face thing again. But well, if you look closely, this is actually navy blue. So the cap and the T-shirt is actually navy blue. It's not black.
Right.
So sorry, man. I mean, as much as I do love the All Blacks, they definitely my second team. My blood is green.
Mike, always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to have conversations with you. There's always so much learning for not just for our users and viewers, but equally for myself. So I genuinely enjoy that. But look, before we get into it, I just wanted to get a sense, how these are difficult times for everyone, right? And how are you coping, and how are you keeping your sanity?
Yeah, it's an interesting time. It's crazy time, certainly. I mean, I think no one really thought that it would get to this point. But I think other than that, coping well. I think we all are pretty blessed. If you look at what you have, you've got a roof over your head, you've got technology, you can catch up, you can have conversations, you've got food on the table. So I think if you look at those things and you sort of count your blessings on a day-to-day basis, there's nothing to really complain about.
So, the thing is, people talk about an economic crisis, right? Now, we're all in business, and yes, we understand it's hard times for business, but first and foremost, it's a humanitarian crisis, right? And the economic crisis is a fallout of that. And what that means is that there is immense amount of pressure on people in different ways, right? And some are getting impacted personally, some are stressed because of the environment they're in, and in these times, you have to keep business continuity. How are you managing to keep your teams engaged and also keep them motivated during these times?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because there's no real playbook for this, right? I mean, it's completely new, and there's not a wrong and a right here. But I think communication is key here, almost over communication in a way. And as tedious as it might seem, on a day-to-day basis, because of the volume of calls that you're handling and stuff, but a daily catch up with the folks is absolutely key to ensure that we keep on track and we have momentum. But other than that, it's just purely checking in to see if they're okay. On our side, the team is very resilient. The guys is being a sort of digital team in this world of financial services, a transformation team, you do have a bunch of very strong characters and guys that can cope pretty well with changes, right? So we're lucky in that sense, and it's coming through quite strongly, right now. So we probably have less challenges than some other teams might have in this day and age. And what outside of the work and business, we do have the weekly catch-ups. We do cooking sessions together. We've done a few cooking sessions, where there's chefs in the team. So that's pretty cool. And we cook together and we eat together. We have a Friday drink session, and so we have a few drinks on a Friday. I'm due to do a training session for the team next week, so I don't know how the hell that's going to work out, but do some aerobics in the sitting room. I don't know. I still have to figure that one out, but we're doing that, and the company itself, Chubb broadly has got a very good supporting program in place through the HR teams and the different management and leadership teams, and they definitely doing their part. And it's been brilliant to see how this company has been able to pull together in a very short space of time, or actually without any warning really, and globally deploy the guys to work from home. You're talking about over 40,000 people. And it's all systems running. We're firing in all cylinders, and the company is going strongly. So it's been great to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And look, in general, now, before I get into the meat of it with you, Mike, just wanted to get a sense, in general, for the insurance industry, right? When you look at health and life insurance, one would imagine that those segments are going to see some fairly significant demand and specific demand. Would that be a correct assumption to make?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'll see specific demand coming through. You'll also see, especially in the health and the life side, there's massive challenges out there as well. I mean, if you look at life in itself, it's mostly still a face-to-face business. It's mostly revolving around advisory and those type of things. And this has definitely put a big focus on a completely new model that might be needed, outside of just sort of incrementally transforming, which I think everyone is doing.
Yep.
This is a fundamental shift that this COVID-19 situation has created, and so you'll see a lot of change and a lot of acceleration in that space coming through.
Yeah, and so in terms of I guess customer behavior, if I understand, will change, right? And for sure, and the way they want to engage. So, I mean, what are the specific challenges and potential opportunities that the sector can leverage technology to overcome?
Well, if you think about the opportunity side, right? I like to look at the bright side first, but especially if you look at the teams like us, which has been on this journey for a couple of years now, and we've been focusing on building. I think the overall key phrase here is building a more efficient capability end to end in order to serve our customers and our partners better. And what this has done from an opportunistic point of view is just placed the biggest amount of focus in the shortest space amount of time that you can think of, and this is globally. And so in a way, it really helps programs like ours, because it basically fast tracks what we've wanted to do and achieve, and maybe in a slower sort of incremental basis. And all of a sudden, there's way more focus and more aggressive enablement that's coming through in this space. So, there's massive opportunities for the companies and the teams out there that's willing to accept change and accept that whatever worked in the past is possibly not going to work in the future, and then put the necessary the necessary weight behind the teams, and let them go out there and get this done. So amazing opportunities specifically for the digital space. Challenges wise, if there's companies out there that might not have placed as much focus on transformation, and they will find it very difficult to try and cut through the noise in a short space of time. That is going to become an extreme challenge for a lot of companies out there that's possibly not focused that much on this over the last couple of years. And then other challenges that you would see coming through is just things like regulatory changes that might need to fast track. You'll have products needs to be re-looked at, especially if you look at the life side, especially now.
Yep.
You might need to look at. I mean, it brings about opportunity with it as well, but you would need to have to cut down that product possibly to a fraction of what it traditionally used to be, in order to serve it in a digital space and simplify it even more.
Yeah.
And then the other challenges, of course, is just the interaction part that between the customer and the actual platform or the actual financial services company, or the advisor. So that's going to become a bit of a challenge, because a lot of these products rely on direct interaction because of the nature of the product, and that's certainly a pretty large challenge in markets where education is still a big part of the sell of the product as well. Again, with every single challenge, there's the opportunity, because you can now rebuild it. You can now actually build that capability and push it out there in the market, and you have a big enough business case or reason to actually put it out there. But yeah, and then of course, with everything now shifting to the digital and the online space very rapidly and almost unnaturally so, you have real challenges like security, online security, cyber attacks coming through. So you have IT teams that's working day and night currently to make sure that you're still operating in a secure environment, knowing that everything is already basically forced into that online environment, wrongly or rightly so. So I think overall, especially for the financial services world, there's the positive side that this brings about incredible new opportunities for the incumbents, as well as for the fintech platforms out there and the startups. But broadly, you're going to have a very big challenge in ensuring that you operate safely and securely within this online space. And I think overall that's possibly going to be one of the biggest challenges. The systems-wise and tech-wise, it's always there. That's just going to be reliant on the board or senior leadership willing to put money on the table to actually get this done.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? I mean, the how would you balance out? I mean, I'm sure as any other business, there's lots of additional cost pressures that have come on to everyone, and just a lot of focus on cash flow management. And how do you balance that pressure of cost management but yet continue on with the innovation and what you need to do to get through this, but not just get through this, to use this as an opportunity to come out of this much stronger?
I think there's no real correct answer there. I mean, it's a hell of a challenge, especially from a cost base. The last thing that you want to do, especially in this day and age and where we are right now with COVID, is to spend unnecessary money in order to do something because the world and everyone else is just moving into that space. I think it comes back to understanding what your priorities are and understanding what you want to achieve. And you need to have that North Star, and you need to understand very clearly what you as a company want to achieve and what you want to do and what is your service offering and your value proposition. And if you are clear on that, that should help you quite a bit to sort of shift away from all the noise. And that should also then help you to invest your money in capital in the right areas. Talking about sort of investment into what needs to be done versus innovation, I think about it a little bit differently, where if you invest the money in the right places, for instance, if you look at incumbents in the financial services space, you've got the legacy environments and stuff that's still churning and that's still running and operating and powering the businesses. Most of the focus there should be to build or develop better, efficient capability for future sake. And as you do that, you will innovate incrementally. You don't have to feel and be pressured to go and make available a whole bunch of money to innovate and for the sake of innovation. I think a lot of people has tried to do that and run into brick walls time and again. The last thing anyone want to do is to spend money for the sake of trying to innovate, but not understanding what their own value proposition is and what their North Star is and what their vision is, what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
I think it starts with the absolute fundamentals. If you understand very clearly what you want to achieve for your business and what you want your business to look like over the next 3 to 5 years, whatever happens, and even as challenging as something like COVID, should not deter you too much on that path that you're following.
Yeah.
And then it should also help you to also not spend unnecessary money and budgets trying to chase after the noise and trying to keep up with the Joneses in this space for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Core capability, number one, is key here. And then if you're a startup on the other side, I think, that's a completely different game. There you are by nature building technology from scratch, or stacking technology that is already efficient. That's a completely different focus there. Because you're going to have as a startup the efficient technology, that's more about business model and product and product packaging and all those things. So don't know if that answers your question, but I think to sum it up, it's understand what your North Star is, understand what your value proposition is, invest your money into building efficient capability, ensuring that you have a very strong fundamental core systems in place. And if you have that, you can then build on top of that. Otherwise, you might end up spending money in different directions, and you'll run into a brick wall at some point.
Yeah, I agree. And so, just on that note of core systems, efficiencies, I mean, do you want to elaborate on that, just in terms of the kind of technologies that may actually play a role in helping the sector or helping other businesses in the sector as well to come up, better prepared?
Yeah, I think I think what's happened with this situation on especially if you talk about incumbents, it has put a big spotlight on the need to now shift away from the legacy environments. I think a lot of us have been trying to sort of build on top or incrementally fix, the core system to enable us to move forward. But you can very clearly see now that, number one, the investment needed to do that outweighs the returns you would get from it. So and secondly, the speed at what you need to do at it, in not knowing what's going to happen next week or next month. And again, COVID has shown that to us.
Yeah.
There needs to be very clear decision making on where you see the growth of the company coming from in future, and then from there, the core capability that one would need is, number one, you need to be in the cloud. Cloud hosted platforms is the only platforms that can scale in an agile way and fast when you need it to scale. There is no way that you could still operate with on-premise capability in this world and day and age. Secondly, it's costly to do that. So if you bring it back to, if you use efficiency as your key word, efficiency for me is just simplifies everything really. And you can go, is this efficient? or is it not? If it's not, throw it out, or buy it, or build something new, but don't use it anymore. And it's actually very, very simple. So I think number one, you need to be in the cloud. There's just no other way around it. I know it's challenging, and I know it's hard, and I know there's regulatory environments where it's challenging to implement it, but you will see regulators now very quickly starting to make those changes to enable companies to implement cloud-based capabilities.
You're starting to see that.
I think that's the first one. I think that's one of the fundamentals. And then secondly, you need to be able to integrate and play within the ecosystems of this day and age. And if you look at that, I know it's being overused and stuff like that, but you need to be able to build the connectors, the API capability to expose your services or consume certain services or products. And if you don't have that as fundamentals, you're going to really, really struggle to build out a company and a capability that can serve your customers better. So on the one side, from a technology point of view and a capability point of view, it's all about efficiency. Yeah. If you've got an efficient capability here, you can do a better job here with your customers. If you don't, well, you can't play in this space, and you're going to find it very challenging going forward.
And Mike, you've built some really strong digital partnerships. I think a lot of people in the industry talk about some of the partnerships that Chubb has built in this part of the world. I mean, you able to share with us what's sort of the secret sauce there?
There's no real secret sauce. I think what's helped us is, number one, just the transparency that comes with a partnership like this, where when you engage with these type of guys, especially in the beginning stages, transparency is possibly one of the biggest keys here, where no one has all the capability in the world, at this point in day and age to build what you want to build in future. So just to be very honest with yourself and to be honest with your partner and to say to them, look, we have this capability and we have done this in the past, and yes, it's worked well, but we want to, with you as a partner, we want to do that, and we want to get there over the next 5 years. Now, we might not have all this capability right now. We have the core infrastructure, where we have the core skill set or the resources or the footprint, but that doesn't mean this will help us to get there. What will help us get there is this sort of marriage, this coming together between us and the partner to get us there. And really, the way that we see partnerships is a very, very close relationship, where we together, we set the idea, we set the vision, and we say, right, what does this market need in the next 3 years? And I think that's one of the key things is, together with a partner, understanding the gaps in the market, understanding what the consumers have and does not have, and then coming together within the partnership to sort of paint that picture and paint that story of what you want to do and how you do want to serve this market going forward. And once you've got that, you can then start to build up that roadmap. And so there's no real secret sauce. I think that's number one, being very clear on what you want to achieve. And in a lot of cases, it might sound crazy, and it's going to take some time to get everyone over the line, maybe. And we certainly experienced that. But I think if you have that as a core, and then from there onwards, you are willing to take hands and hold hands and say, right, hey guys, we can't do this alone. We can't do it without you. And being very honest with yourself and saying, but there is no way that we can serve this market as one company or two companies or maybe even three companies. We need to come together, and if we come together, we can be so much more powerful. And then once you have that alignment, then it is pretty easy to build out the roadmap. And then from there, you just start to implement. And of course, there's always challenges on the road. nothing it runs smoothly, but as long as you have that from day one, I think you can do pretty much everything, and that's really the way that we've tackled these partnerships in the past, and that's definitely the way that we're going to do it in the future.
Yeah, no, and look, I hope you keep building those strong partnerships. You guys have been very good at that. My philosophy around partnership has been, and I've used this in the couple of partnerships we've had, in my career with third parties, is 1 + 1 does not equal 2 or 3. 1 + 1 is 11, right? So you bring those. That's what he said, right? You bring those the exponential capability you get of two capabilities coming together. That's fantastic. Now, we talk about all of this transformation and what's how industries are going to cope with this. What do you think technology vendors are thinking at the moment, and what would your message be to them? I mean, because obviously they're I think it's fallacy that people think tech is doing really well in this environment. Technology companies are hurting as much as anyone else, right? But they're keeping at it, they're keeping the lights on, and they're keeping things moving. But I mean, what would your message be to them in terms of how can they help their customers better and learn from that?
I mean, again, I think for technology vendors, I've been one myself in the past, so I sort of know what's going through their minds, and of course at this point, I think everyone's just trying to survive for the next couple of months, and just get through this. But also on the other side, there must be a lot of people, especially on the technology vendor side, might think this is the opportunity of their lifetime, and I would agree with him. I think this is a great opportunity, and so if you have a sort of the capability and you have the products out there, I mean, I think it's a good time to start to ensure that people understand what you have and what you can bring to them from a value proposition point of view. But what is important here is especially when you think about technology vendors, is my message would be and this is basically a learning that like I didn't really truly understand before landing here. Technology is a key enabler, and it will stay a key enabler. But that technology is not the business. Technology is a very, very, very key enabler, and companies, like us and a whole bunch of other companies definitely need that capability, as we progress on our journey. But if you understand where technology fits in, I think that'll make it easier for companies and vendors out there to approach the larger companies. There's so many areas within the business that can be served with solutions, but it does need to serve a real purpose. It does need to you've got to spend time as a vendor to understand what the companies are trying to achieve. And to be honest, if you just go back to the partnership point that you made earlier, it's the same for us. When we do a partnership, if we don't understand that business inside out, and we don't understand what they are trying to achieve before we try to sell our insurance service to them, there will just be a big gap from day one. And I think that's not different for technology vendors out there. If you spend the time to understand the business and understand really truly what the business needs and where those needs are, you can bring a much more valuable proposition and a service to that company, as opposed to trying to sell this one thing and then use sales skills to try and make the company understand that they need this. And I think if you look at, there's a lot of buzzwords out there currently, but if you look at AI is a good example. There's so many people selling AI, right? And they're using AI as a selling point. You go to conferences and you see all these, everyone is, AI this and AI that. And I'm going, okay, right, there's, that's great, but, what does that do? What is that going to do for me? What is that going to do for me? Because AI can help me in 30 different places in the company. What are you going to do for us, and how is that going to help us on our journey? And I think what's needed in this space, and there are a couple of companies starting to shift there to that side, but is almost, if you have the technology capability and that services that you want to bring towards the company, is to almost have that solutioning side as a service firstly. And that solutioning side, if you have a people or a team or even just one person that goes and spends time with these partners or these target companies that you want to sell to, and understand their business without trying to sell them anything, but purely just understand them.
Yeah.
From there, you can then reverse engineer and you can come up with a proposition, and that will give you a much better opportunity to actually then land the business.
Yeah, yeah. So effectively, and especially in the current times, but even in general, it would be, if the focus was more on engaging and understanding rather than selling, the process would become much more streamlined.
Yeah, it's a good summary. Yeah.
And look, just I know we're sort of coming to the end, but I wanted to talk to you, about emerging markets a little bit, and I wanted to touch on your home country, South Africa. Beautiful country, absolutely beautiful country. They've got the second best rugby team in the world, the Springboks, and I'm very gracious that way. But in terms of, I guess, just first of all, the situation there, how's it shaping up? But do you think there's an opportunity? And I know that's is off topic a little bit, but just an opportunity. Because if you look at South Africa, I think South Africa is an odd one because it doesn't fit underdeveloped or mature countries, right? It's mature, but it's got pockets. So it's a blend, right? I can't think of many other countries with that, but you've got you've got an opportunity there to obviously not just for South Africa, but to lead change in Africa as a continent, because South Africa is basically the country that everyone looks up to in that continent. So is there an opportunity, you think, for the government there to focus on using technology for areas, for three things, which I think are going to become absolutely critical beyond anything else, right? Especially when it comes to smart governance, smart cities, and so on. It's food sustainability, healthcare, and education, right? And all three are sectors that are getting hugely impacted and will change forever. I mean, food sustainability is definitely become a big concern for everyone, given the broken supply chains and all the challenges. And all three of these will need technology to evolve. Do you think the governments will have the appetite to lead that? Because if you're going to bring that change in other parts of Africa, then South Africa is going to kind of take the lead in that. In any case, is that something that you feel is critical for governments to be thinking about, those three areas? Technology.
I'm super passionate about this. I can go on this subject for a long time, but if you look at the emerging markets, I think it comes down to accessibility. In emerging markets, possibly the biggest problem there is accessibility to basic needs, whether that's food, healthcare, education, financial services. It's those four really, and it's the accessibility to those things that's completely lacking. That leads to that economy not being able to grow really, and the people in that economy staying desperately poor. So accessibility is the keyword here, and I think all emerging market spaces, and certainly for South Africa, if the governments and the regulatory the regulators and the governments and these guys don't come together very quickly and start to make the necessary changes to literally industrialize. They need to industrialize the technology capability in those countries. So stop trying to manufacturing. Yes, it might be important, whatever else, but it's a prehistoric notion. Why would you want to keep on manufacturing or ruining the environment and everything else, whilst you have this incredible talent in most of those countries, and you have a whole bunch of youngsters that you can put through, and you can train them from a technology standpoint, and you can literally almost create a completely new economy where, number one, through technology they can be educated. Number two, through technology you can build better food supply chains. You can get people fed, which means if they're fed, they can be educated. And number three, you can again, through technology, you can give them the access to the financial services that they need. And like insurance, bringing it back to insurance, I never realized. I mean, I knew insurance was important, but I never realized how important and how pivotal it is, especially for your emerging markets and your economies where we have vast amount of poor people.
Yeah.
If you can imagine, even in a perfect world, if every single one of those people had a very small marginalized insurance policy that would leave a little bit of money behind for their families or for their kids. So imagine in the next 10 years, you can give access to a large percentage of the parents in those economies where they could leave behind a little bit of money. You would literally change the landscape of that economy and that country.
Yeah.
But until then, when there's no access and there's no way to turn to, it's unfortunately it's going to stay like it for a long time. And so if the governments don't understand, have never understood the need to bring technology to the forefront and almost industrializing that technology to focus on accessibility of those core basic needs, they probably never will. And I'm hoping and praying that in South Africa, being my home country, a country like South Africa needs this more than anything else. And there's the talent out there, especially from the technology side of things, is immense. There's immense amount of talent in that country to use as a core building block, and then from there use that talent to then train up and educate your younger kids as they come through. It could fundamentally change the country for the better in the future. If it's going to happen, I don't know. If I could help a little bit with that, I would. But for now, I mean, it's good to see. If you look in Asia, just bring it back to Asia quickly. But in Asia, you do have governments that's really putting a real focus on it. And it's great to see. Of course, Singapore's leading that. And sort of using that to sort of influence the other countries, the emerging markets around it. But if you look at what's happening in Indonesia, Thailand specifically as well, Vietnam, very good example. You have immense amount of support from the government to utilize technology to build a better future. Yeah, and that's awesome to see, and hopefully Africa and South Africa will catch up to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, mate, the reason I asked you this, Mike, is I heard your session at the Singapore FinTech Festival on inclusion, and I know how passionate you are about the topic. So, I always love to listen to you on these themes. But look, it's been wonderful as always, Mike. Getting your thoughts very, very real, very open and candid. And I think that's the reason you've built a good, strong digital business for a sector that's still evolving, and some great partnerships as well. I wish you well, and stay safe, stay well, and hope your family's well back in South Africa as well. Thank you again, Mike. Mike Eksteen, the VP of Digital for Chubb Insurance in Asia Pacific.